Hey there and welcome. Today we are cracking the code on some of the smallest but seriously most powerful words in the entire English language, prepositions. Let's dive in and find out why these tiny words are actually such a huge deal. So take a look at this sentence on your screen. The book is the table. It just feels off, doesn't it? It's incomplete. We know there's a book and we know there's a table, but we're missing the most important piece of information: how they actually relate to each other. You got it. It's missing a secret connector. This tiny little word has a massive job. It has to link everything together so the sentence actually makes sense. Without it, our ideas are just kind of floating around, totally disconnected. So what is this secret connector? Well, it's the preposition. And in this first part, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly what these little words are, and more importantly, what they do for us. Okay, so here's the official definition. A preposition is simply a word that shows a relationship. It's the bridge that connects a noun, like book, or a pronoun, like he, to another word in that same sentence. It's the piece that tells us how they're all connected. Really, you can think of prepositions as the ultimate question answerers. They're the words that tell us where something is, when something happened, where it's headed, and sometimes even why. They provide all that crucial context that really makes a sentence come to life. All right, so now we know what a preposition is. Let's actually put it to work. I want you to think of it like a single Lego brick. In this next section, we're going to see how these little blocks fit together to build something much bigger: phrases. And you know what? The formula is beautifully simple. A preposition is almost always followed by an object, which is just a noun or a pronoun. This simple little pair, preposition plus object, is what we call a prepositional phrase. That's it. Let's see this thing in action. In this sentence, the cat is under the chair. Our preposition under connects with its object, the chair. And together, that whole phrase, under the chair, works as one single unit to tell us exactly where the cat is. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's absolutely essential. Okay, it is time to open up our toolkit. We're about to look at the most common types of prepositions, the ones you're going to be using every single day. Because having the right tool for the right job, well, that's the key to clear communication. Our first and maybe our most used tool in the entire kit is the preposition of place. These are the words we grab when we need to describe the location of something, to answer that where question we talked about a minute ago. Let's look at the big ones. We use in when something is inside a defined space, like in the room. We use on when it's on a surface, like on the table. At is for a very specific exact point, like at the door. And under, well, that just means below. See how each one paints a completely different mental picture? Next up in the toolkit, prepositions of time. These are the ones that help us organize our world by answering that big question, when. And let me tell you, getting these right is so important for making plans and telling stories clearly. Now listen up, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up, so let's make it super clear. We use at for specific clock times, like at 5 p.m. We use on for specific days and dates, like on Monday. And we use in for the bigger time periods, months, years, seasons, like in 2025. A great way to remember it is that it goes from most specific to most general: at, on, in. And the final tool in our basic kit is all about movement. Prepositions of direction show us where something is going. They're what add all the action and flow to our sentences. So let's quickly break these down. To shows us a destination, go to school. Into shows movement from the outside to the inside, walk into the room. And from tells us the starting point, come from home. Each one signals a totally different path of movement. So you've got the tools now, but a true master knows how to use them with precision and how to avoid the common mistakes. This section is all about those pro tips that are going to seriously elevate your English. Okay, this is a big one. It's a mistake that even native speakers make all the time. Here's the rule. After a preposition, any pronoun you use must be in its object form. So you wouldn't say I, he, or she. You have to use me, him, or her. And here's the classic example. You hear people say between you and I constantly, but since between is a preposition, it needs an object. So the correct way, always, is between you and me. It's such a simple switch, but it makes a huge difference in sounding correct. Here is another golden rule for you. If you ever need to use a verb immediately after a preposition, that verb almost always has to take the ing form, which is technically called a gerund. For instance, you don't say, she is good at sing. No way. You say, she is good at singing. And you don't say, he left without say. You say, he left without saying anything. That preposition right before it just triggers that ing form. And finally, let's clear up a really common point of confusion, between versus among. The rule is actually super simple. You use between when you're talking about two separate, distinct things, and you use among when something is part of a larger group of three or more. Okay, we've gone pretty deep into the mechanics, the tools, the rules, but let's zoom out for a second. Why did we just spend all this time on these teeny tiny words? Well, because, as we're about to see, they are anything but small when it comes to importance. You know, when it comes right down to it, prepositions are the glue holding our language together. They inject meaning, they clarify relationships, and getting them right is just a non-negotiable step if you want to be fluent. Think about it. You use them in almost every single sentence. They're like the invisible architecture of clear communication. So, we've equipped your toolkit, we've pointed out the pro moves, and my final question for you is this. Now that you've seen how they work, which one of these secret connectors are you going to start paying a little more attention to in your own conversations? Definitely something to think about.